Welcome to the third video in the No EXP challenge on Disgaea 5. In this series, we turn off EXP and try to beat the game using other mechanics. If you're wondering how my characters are higher than level 1, be sure to check out the earlier videos, playlist linked somewhere on the screen. Today, we're going to take on the next few chapters starting with chapter 6. Let's jump into the first stage. It looks like there aren't too many enemies, so as long as we can keep healing when our health gets low, this stage looks to be pretty straightforward. Thankfully, this stage has a great choke point, which is this ladder here, so as long as we can keep our healer behind, this is an awesome way to take out close range units as they can't get past our fighter. I do have another fighter sitting behind just as a backup in case we need to pick our main unit up, just so they can not take damage for the one turn. And so basically it's just a rinse and repeat of that for a few minutes, and that's stage 1 done. On to the next stage. Geosymbols. Is it an unpopular opinion to say that I actually really like geosymbols in Disgaea? So any map with a geosymbol or multiple geosymbols gives us the choice to remove one or more effects, or we can destroy them to damage the enemies if we really need to. What's nice about this map is that the enemies are scattered quite far apart, so this does give us the chance to heal every time we defeat a couple more enemies. Again, like the last stage, not really much going on here, and this one was actually quite easy. So stage 3. I could already tell that our fighter was not going to be strong enough. I had a few attempts and it was honestly too difficult. So we went back and captured some higher level enemies so I could create a level 40 fighter. I also got some better equipment from the store. So let's have another go at stage 3. Luckily this map has 2 choke points right outside of the base panel. So all we need to do is block off one panel with one of our weaker units and have them defend each turn. Then just block the other unit with our main character and slowly chip away at the enemies. It's also a great help that the enemies, or at least most of them, don't have any ranged attacks, so they can't hit our healer, and we could just spam heal every turn if we need to. Now, stage 4, this was actually really straightforward as we have quite a few allies, so honestly they take out half the enemies anyway. Even the boss was a massive pushover. So final stage in the chapter is none other than Bloodis. Bloodis has an ability that limits all movement to 1 if they are within 3 panels. This makes it very difficult to pick him up, or even my O units, as I can't move around the field freely. He is a physical attacker, so the best way to deal with him would be to buff our own defense using the physical gain ability. Our defense is already quite decent, so he should hopefully do little to no damage as long as I can maintain the buff every turn. And it's just that easy. Chapter 7. Considering how easy the end of chapter 6 was, I think we'll be okay to jump straight into the first stage. Well, not exactly. Even when I picked my fighter up, both of my units were KO'd in a single turn, so this isn't going to work out as I thought. So I guess we need to get a little stronger, and without leveling up, unfortunately. First, we'll get some better items from the store just to up our base attack. Then I spent some time in the item world trying to level up the Dark Rosary that we had, but honestly, it was getting pretty difficult and it was not worth the reward. I did get the Dark Rosary up to level 28, but the stats weren't that great as you can see here. I also started using the Nether Research just so we can acquire some more hell passively in the background, as we can sell off the items that we collect. Another quick trip to the item world to level up our weapon cross counter, and another quick attempt at stage 1. I realized that we need to really be upping our defense more than anything. So we went back and spent some time capturing some pretty strong printies. From there, we used them to make an extract to strengthen our fighter. I think we're ready to try again. In wide open maps like this with multiple enemies, our best option is to honestly just make sure we have our units buffed and to make sure we pick up our fighter if needed. And the occasional heal. With stage 1 finally out of the way, I think we're ready to continue. Stage 2. I really enjoy playing maps with these long, narrow choke points. Kinda reminds me of playing games like Age of Empires. Anyway, the main goal here is to have enemies push up and start funneling through one at a time. Once we've set up our buffs, we're ready to just plant the fighter in front of the enemies and start taking them down one by one. As the enemies can't get past our fighter, we're free to just set up our buffs and continue to heal as necessary. Next stage. I think we're going to try and ignore the enemy boost geo symbol. There are some ranged units, but majority are close range. So as long as we set up our geo symbols and maintain buffs, we should be okay. Luckily the enemies are spread out enough like some of the earlier stages, so it's really easy to maintain our buffs and keep our health up. And honestly, maps like this, our best strategy is to pick up our fighter to avoid taking damage. There's not really much else that we can do. Stage 4. Our fighters spent a few turns in revenge mode, which made it super easy. Even the boss was a cakewalk. They would either do very little damage or miss the attack entirely. So let's skip straight to the good stuff. Final stage. And we've got a rematch against our friend, Big Bad Bloodis. Again, like the previous stage, there's not much we can do other than just keeping up our buffs and maintaining high health, plus picking up our fighter if needed. Now, time for Bloodis. I was a little nervous to be honest. I made sure all of my units were full health and that my fighter had all of his buffs active. I positioned all of my units perfectly so they were in range to help out and prepare for the next attack. And then, this happened. How many counters was that? I can't believe we almost killed him in a single turn. So to finish off, we just pick him up and then attack on the next turn. And that's the end of Bloodis and the chapter. Honestly, I was really surprised at how easy this was, but it is getting more and more difficult every single chapter. I'm really excited to see how we go next time. Like the video maybe?